One of the things that every single solar company that I've dealt with does after the initial consultation is have people sign an agreement. You have to understand solar involves a lot of people. Once you decide to move on, you're dealing with the actual financer and the bank involved. You're dealing with the installer. You're dealing with the utility company. You're dealing with sometimes the state if there's state incentives. You're dealing with the federal if there's a federal tax credit that's involved. So there's a lot of paperwork, and people tend to shy away. They go through the whole consultation. They're like, man, this sounds good. It looks good. Everything is good. And then they have all these documents to sign before they even do anything. That does tend to worry some people or cause hesitation. So we're going to talk about that. By the way, I'm Matthew Washington. I'm the founder of a company called Bright Futures, and I've been in solar since 2013. I've worked in sales, I've worked in operations, designing systems, and finance. I'm working with dealerships. I personally think everyone who can go solar should. However, I know that people's homes are their biggest investment and they don't want to make mistakes. And dealing with a solar salesperson could be a good one, could be a bad one. So, the objective of this channel is to help people who are considering solar get educated on the topic. If you have any specific questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll respond, or I will potentially make a video about it. Back to what we're talking about here, the initial agreement. And again, it does feel like it's a lot of paperwork to sign. Am I signing something that is going to bind me that I can't get out of and I don't really have all the information? Maybe I did it too fast because I really liked the salesperson or it sounded good and now I'm going to be stuck. Here's the thing to understand. When I was looking into solar companies, one of the things I started doing was reading reviews, reading the good reviews, reading the bad reviews. I'm going to have another video about reviews and how to use those correctly and how to judge those correctly. Here's the one thing I've never seen is somebody give a 1 star to a company and say, I signed the initial agreement and then I changed my mind. I didn't want to go solar and they still put it up anyway, or they took me to court and forced me to go solar, or the sheriff came and I was telling them I don't want to do this and they said you signed a contract and you have to do it, or the bank is making me make payments on solar that's not installed because I stopped them from installing it. I have never seen this happen. So if you're concerned in the beginning, understand that I worked with a company who dealt with dealers who would complain the other way, like, hey, we did some work on this customer's home, whether it was upgrading their main panel, or giving an electrical upgrade, or doing some work on this or that. Then the people changed their mind about going solar before it was installed. And the dealers were talking to the banks like, hey, do we have any recourse? We did work. We should be paid for this. And we would just tell them, sorry, until they get a solar system, nothing we can do. Should you read the contract? Should you look it over? Should you figure out what's in there? Yes. There's other videos on my channel that will go through different parts of the contracts that solar companies use. But do understand that you have time to do that. It is a long process. It's not like you're going to sign up today and they're going to be at your house tomorrow with solar panels. They're going to send you all the paperwork and you take some time and go through it. But understand that until they actually do something, now, doing something means like actual physical labor. If they try to charge you for doing some plans or doing drawings or any of that kind of stuff, it's not going to fly. They're not going to hold you accountable to that. And you're definitely not going to hold you accountable to a $40, $50, $60,000 solar system that doesn't get installed on your roof. And there's no bank that's going to make you make payments on something that you don't have. And there's no sheriff or anybody that's going to make you have solar people go on your roof and install a system. Now, every company does make you sign that initial agreement because they got to do a credit check unless you're paying for it in cash all out front or with your own financing. But you have to do a credit check. You have to get approved from your bank. Even if you're doing a lease where you're not actually purchasing the system, they still have to do a credit check before they feel comfortable financing that system. And the reason why solar companies do this is because they understand solar is not the number one thing in your life. They don't want to keep coming back to you. Hey, we need you to sign the installer agreement. They come back a couple of days later and send you over, here's the stuff from the utility company. You have to sign that because you have to hook up your system to the utility. You're still using the utility, even the sun doesn't shine at night. And then we got to come back again because we got to get permits from the town, a building permit, and we need you to sign off on that. And so the point being, solar company is like, look, we just went through everything. You understand what's going on right now. Let's just sign all the paperwork up front and have it all done. And then the solar company could just do what they need to do as opposed to keep going, trying to get in touch with you again and signing all these things, which could delay the projects, which is not good for you either if you want to go solar. You don't want this all paused up. We have a lot of topics to cover on this, but the main thing that you should understand is by signing the initial agreements, if you change your mind, there's nothing that a solar company can do until installation or until they do actual work. So before you let them do any work, make sure you've read through it. If you have questions, go back to them. It's okay to start the process because that's what they're going to need to do to get the ball rolling as far as all the paperwork, designs, and checking your roof. All right. So let's make a bright future for everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.